Okay, let's really dive in. So you sent us this really interesting source. It's a transcript from a YouTube video, right? All about practicing American accent English speaking.
Yeah, from a channel called English Easy Practice.
Right. And our goal today is really to unpack it, not just what it covers, but like how it structures the learning.
How it breaks it down.
Exactly. It sort of promises this fun and interactive experience, a way to boost your speaking skills quickly.
Through a very specific 4-part exercise, which is what we're going to look at.
Yeah, let's explore those parts and, try to get a sense of the method behind it all.
Sounds good. It's pretty interesting to see how one resource tries to tackle language learning,
Yeah,
breaking it down into these steps.
definitely. This one seems very focused on repetition and kind of segmenting the practice.
Right. Very structured.
So step one in their method, it's all about listening. Is that right?
Yeah, the first thing is just listening practice. The source says you should really focus on the meaning of a conversation.
Okay, between native speakers.
Between native speakers, yeah. The goal, it seems, is to help you understand real-life conversations better. Kind of tune your ear first.
Right, prioritize comprehension. And they give a specific conversation example.
They do. It's between two people, Sarah and Jake. They're talking about a science fair.
Okay, yeah, science fair. Pretty relatable situation. So what happens in their chat?
Well, the key points are Jake isn't ready, like at all. He has no ideas.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, and he's noticing everyone else is building the usual stuff, volcanoes or robots.
The classic.
Exactly. And Sarah, she kind of jumps in saying they need something special to win.
Competitive.
A little bit, yeah. She sees Jake stuck, so she suggests they need to think outside the box.
Okay, nice idiom there.
Yeah.
So they need a creative idea.
Yeah. And they do come up with something different, something useful.
Okay, like what?
A machine, apparently, that helps water plants when you're not home.
Huh. Okay, that is outside the box.
Yeah.
Especially compared to volcanoes.
Right. And Jake seems pretty into it. He immediately starts listing materials. Simple stuff.
Well, yeah.
Like a bottle, some string, and a timer.
Okay, low tech, I like it.
Yeah, they agree it's simple but different, and they're motivated now.
So they decide to just jump on it.
Yep, the plan is to start building it tonight. They want to win that prize. It's a nice, neat little conversation.
Yeah, it makes sense to use something short and, contained like that for a learning exercise. Doesn't overwhelm you.
Keeps the cognitive load down, exactly. It gives you context without being too complex.
Okay, so you listen first. Get the meaning. What's part two?
Part 2 moves on to vocabulary building.
Right. So taking words from that conversation.
Exactly. It isolates specific words. And the method is they explain the word and then they give you example sentences. The idea is to help you grasp their meaning easily.
Makes sense. What kind of words do they pull out?
Well, first off, science fair. Obvious one from the context. Defined as a school event where students show science projects. Pretty straightforward. They give an example like, Tom won first prize at the science fair.
Okay.
But what's interesting, as you mentioned, is the source itself, repeats science fair a lot. Different tones, slightly different phrases.
Repetition seems key here.
Very much so. Then they do volcanoes, defined as mountains that can explode with fire, smoke, and lava.
Got it.
Standard example. The teacher showed a picture of real volcanoes, but then they also have these, slightly odd examples in the source itself, like candy corn volcano.
Okay, candy corn volcano. That's memorable, I guess.
Probably helps it stick, yeah. Then there's the idiom you flagged earlier, think outside the box.
Yeah. How do they define that?
As to have a new or creative idea. And the example is, let's think outside the box and try something different.
And you mentioned seeing some variations in the source itself.
Yeah, it was interesting. There were phrases like think outside of the box and even, I think, thinking outside the boxing.
Boxing. Okay. Maybe just natural speech variation or perhaps a typo.
Could be either, I guess. But it does show how language isn't always perfectly neat. And the last one was string.
From the plant watering machine.
Right. Defined as a thin piece of rope used to tie things. Example. I tied the package with a piece of string.
And more repetition here, too. Any weird examples?
Yep, lots of repetition. And they had things like string worm and super string. Again, maybe just trying to make it memorable.
It really feels like they're drilling these specific words.
Absolutely. And they don't hide it. Right after this vocabulary section, the source just states it outright. Repetition is very important to become fluent in English.
So that's their core philosophy laid bare. Build fluency through lots of focused repeats.
That seems to be the foundation, yeah. Taking specific bits and practicing them over and over.
Okay, which kind of sets up part 3, right? Listen and answer practice. This sounds more interactive.
It is. The idea here is the source asks you questions about that Sarah and Jake conversation from part 1.
And you, the listener, need to respond.
Yeah, they encourage you to try answering out loud before they give you the correct answer.
So it's like a spoken comprehension quiz.
Pretty much. It checks if you understood, but also gets you speaking. The stated goal is to boost your speaking and listening skills.
And they recommend repetition for this part, too.
Oh, yeah. They say you should do it every day until you can say the answers quickly and confidently.
So what kinds of questions do they ask? Is it just recalling facts?
It covers the whole conversation, really. Basic stuff first, like confirming the topic. Was it about the book fair? No. Science fair? Yes.
Okay. Checking you're paying attention.
Right. Then details about Jake. Was he ready? No. What was he worried about? His project? Not having ideas? What were others building? Volcanoes and robots? Did you want to build one? No, he wanted something different.
So making sure you got his whole situation.
Exactly. Then about Sarah's input. What did she say they needed? Something special. Did Jake have ideas? No. What did Sarah say to do? Think outside the box.
And they check the meaning of that idiom again.
Yep. What does think outside the box mean? Have a new idea. Try something different. Did Sarah want something useful? Yes.
Okay. And the plant watering machine.
Questions about that, too. What was the idea? The machine. When does it water plants? When you're not home.
And finally, the plant itself.
Right. Did Jake like it? Yes. Did he mention glass and chain? No checks if you misheard. What did he say they could use? Bottle, string, timer. Was the idea simple or hard? Simple but different. Start tonight. Yes, tonight.
Wow. Okay, that's quite thorough.
Yeah.
It really forces you to actively recall and then, importantly, say the answers.
Yeah, it pushes you from just passive listening into active retrieval and actually producing some language, even if it's simple answers. That's a crucial step.
Definitely. Okay, so we've listened, learned vocab, practiced answering questions aloud. What's the final step? Part 4.
The final part is shadowing practice.
Shadowing. Okay, I've heard of this. What does it involve according to this source?
It's basically mimicking. The source says you read your lines out loud after the speakers as they talk in the conversation.
So you're literally trying to sound like Sarah and Jake.
Pretty much, yeah. You're aiming to copy their sound. Sometimes you try to speak right along with them, or maybe just a fraction of a second behind.
And what's the specific focus when you're doing that?
The source says the focus points are the rhythm and intonation of the English expressions and sentences.
Rhythm and intonation. Okay, can you break those down simply for someone maybe not familiar with those linguistic terms?
Sure. Think of rhythm like the beat or the music of English. It's about which words or syllables get stressed, which are quicker, how words kind of flow together.
The stress patterns and timing.
Exactly. And intonation is more like the melody. The pitch of your voice, does it go up or down? That helps show if it's a question or if you're excited or just stating a fact. Getting those right is huge for sounding natural.
Right. It's not just what you say, but how you say it. Affects meaning, too, sometimes.
Definitely. So shadowing, by copying native speakers, is meant to train your mouth, your muscles, and your ear to reproduce those natural patterns.
And the hoped-for result.
The source says the goal is to sharpen your pronunciation and overall speaking abilities. And they actually list out lines from the dialogue for you to shadow.
Like specific back-and-forth bits.
Yeah, like Sarah's opening, "Hi, Jake, are you ready for the science fair?" Then you'd echo that. Then Jake's, "Not really, I don't know what to make." And you echo that. All the way through their exchange about building the project.
Okay, so it's a really structured 4-part system then.
Seems like it. Starts with just listening for the gist.
Then zooms in on specific vocabulary with lots of repetition.
Then moves to active recall and speaking with the Q&A.
And finishes by focusing on the sound, the pronunciation, rhythm, intonation, through mimicking, through shadowing.
That's the method they lay out. It's very step-by-step moving from understanding to production, and that emphasis on repetition is everywhere.
Yeah, they really stress that, don't they? Saying something like, keep watching and repeating.
Exactly. The advice is keep watching this video every day for 1 week and repeat the exercises. Consistency and repetition are the core message.
So this deep dive really unpacked the specific structure of this one particular practice video. It's certainly one way to approach improving speaking skills. Very methodical.
And granular, yeah. Isolating these different skills. comprehension, vocab, basic output, and then the more nuanced aspects of sound, like prosody.
And looking at this very specific broken down method raises a question, I think, for you, our listener, to maybe mull over. This source deliberately segments practice into these like really discrete steps.
Yeah.
Listening, then vocab, then Q&A, then shadowing. How does this kind of isolated, highly repeatable exercise compare with, say, more immersive approaches where you might try to use all those skills together from the start?
Right. Is there a unique benefit to drilling these elements separately like this? Does focusing intensely on these specific, repeatable exercises target fluency in a different, maybe even more efficient way for some learners compared to just jumping into more holistic practice? Something to